Thank you. I just want to take the time to obviously thank a lot of our residents and folks who drove out here for speaking tonight. Especially on both sides of Policy 5756. I think having these discussions are worthwhile. They're difficult to have, but they're worth having because it's an important issue. I'd like to address some of the issues or points that were made by the public tonight. I just want to emphasize that I always think from the perspective of a student, trans or not trans. I mean, I put myself in the shoes of each and every single one of our students. And I want to remind folks here that I was once a student here walking through our school halls. And I personally know former classmates who are part of the trans community, part of the LGBTQ community. And when I speak here, at this dais, I speak not just as a board member, but always as a former student with the interests of our students always at mind. Some points I think were made that Policy 5756 is not an issue in our district. We should not be addressing issues only when they come up, but try and find ways to prevent them before they become an issue. Why are we waiting until it becomes a problem or until there's public outcry from parents? I also kind of want to reiterate as well that repealing this policy is not a direct attack on trans students in an attempt to single them out and harm them. I will once again reiterate that the repeal of this policy doesn't intend to harm students, increase trans suicide, or exacerbate the challenges of trans students facing bullying. We can all agree here that trans suicide and trans bullying is disgusting. It has no place here in Bridgewater Raritan, and I will fight to ensure every student, including trans students, get the respect and dignity that they deserve. I hope we can all work together as a community to do what's right for all of our students and to end trans bullying and suicide. I just also want to generally reiterate that, being here on this board, it goes beyond rubber stamping. The real role really does lie in just hearing from everyone speak out, and especially from our residents. I think it speaks volumes to the fact that, public comment is such an important part of our process. And it's important to have these tough conversations. We weren't elected, once again, to rubber stamp, and we're not elected to be a part of a meeting where bureaucrats can just step in and run a meeting that's not his. We were not elected to bow down to threats or demands that were made by unelected bureaucrats. We were elected to tackle a lot of the critical issues like Policy 5756 that are facing our students and to address the voters of Bridgewater and Raritan. Put the trust in us to be good stewards of school governance. I also want to address some of the unacceptable behavior that some members of the public experienced when addressing the board at our previous
Chairman, I'm
meeting.
just going to ask that you focus your attention to the board.
To the board?
When you're addressing it.
All right.
Because this is old business. So
Yes, okay. Obviously, there's no place for disrespect, derision, hostility, or intimidation when people come forward and voice their opinions. We were elected public servants, and those who speak before us deserve nothing less than the same respect we'd expect for ourselves. I also want to add that it's never acceptable for a member of the public to intimidate or threaten a board member in a public setting of any kind. And as a member of this board, I find such behavior to be not just unprofessional, but downright vile. And I stand with my board colleagues against this behavior, notwithstanding some of the differences that we may have. But finally, I think it's good to get straight to the point. Policy 5756, and I'll be blunt, once again, this policy wrongly asserts that decisions about a student's gender identity are not a matter for families to decide, when they should be. It affirms access by biological males to female restrooms, locker rooms, and girls' sports, and this isn't just a matter of fairness, but it's about protecting families, ensuring the safety of our students. And if the repeal of Policy 5756 ever comes before this board, I will vote to repeal it without hesitation. This policy has no place in our schools, and I will fight tooth and nail to see that this policy be removed from our district. And then I also want to just call out, glaring hypocrisy that's been on display. Many of the partisan organizations that came before us last month, speaking vehemently against the repeal of Policy 5756, have absolutely zero skin in the game. These groups from out of town are here to push their special interest agenda. They don't care about our schools, our students, or our deeply held Bridgewater and Raritan family values. They care about their own political narratives, and they'll stop at nothing to manipulate our decision-making process. And let me make one thing clear. I will not be bullied by these outside special interest groups. I will not be intimidated into voting against the interests of our school community. So I've got to respectfully just say that the comments made at the last meeting that repealing policy 5756 is some kind of political game or political stunt is just patently false. Lastly, I just want to reiterate that I will not be bullied, I will not back down, and I stand firm in my commitment to serve this community and to do what's right, no matter how loud the out-of-town, deep-pocketed special interest opposition gets. I will refuse to surrender my independent judgment to special interest or partisan political groups, or to use the schools for personal gain or for the gain of friends. That's all I have to say.